Yes, friends, it has been agreed upon. A new stimulus relief package has been confirmed, and new relief checks are going out this week. Up to $3,000 is currently available to be claimed right now by low and middle income households. Some Social Security and SSI beneficiaries will also be able to receive this financial aid. Friends, this is amazing news. I know right now it is very difficult to keep up with the rising prices of everyday necessities and many bills. That is why it is extremely important that our lawmakers work together for the American people to approve new stimulus legislation. Please make sure you watch until the end of this video, because I will be sharing with you how you can receive $3,000 in inflation relief money. To say thank you for watching all the videos I post, I will be giving away 4 $75 Walmart gift cards every week. Please enter the giveaways by clicking and liking several of my videos and then commenting below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you comment on, the greater your chances of winning the giveaways. The state of Alaska plans to begin distributing this year's Oil Wealth Fund check and a special energy relief payment to residents this month. The timeline was announced by Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy and the State Department of Revenue. The combined payout for the dividend and the energy relief payment is estimated to be about $3,200 per person, but a final figure is still pending. And according to the state, residents will receive the money as one payment. This energy relief payment was intended by lawmakers as a one-time benefit to help residents with high energy costs. Most Alaskans receive a dividend. There is a yearly application and residency requirement to qualify. Dividends traditionally have been paid using earnings from the state's Oil Wealth Fund, the Alaska Permanent Fund. They are typically paid in early fall. Checks for last year's dividend began going out the week of October 11, 2021. Last year's dividend was $1,114. In New York State, they are also sending out $475 million in tax relief for families and low-income individuals. The New York Department of Taxation and Finance will soon begin sending direct financial assistance to 1.75 million New Yorkers who receive the Empire State Child Credit and/or the Earned Income Credit on their 2021 state tax returns. Governor Kathy Hochul and the state legislature approved the additional New York State child and earned income tax payment as part of the 2023 budget. The program will provide an average payment of $270 per eligible recipient. All eligible New Yorkers do not need to take any action to receive their checks. The checks will be mailed automatically. According to state officials, residents of New York who have recently moved should update their address with the Department of Taxation and Finance to prevent any delays in receiving their checks. Friends, the keyword for this video is Clearwater, Florida. If you would like to enter today's Walmart gift card giveaway, please click and like several of my videos and then comment below this keyword, which is Clearwater, Florida, and additional keywords of any video of mine that you watch. And do make sure, friends, that you are subscribed to my channel. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is also expected to tee up a vote this week on short-term funding bill to avert a government shutdown, but the process could hit a roadblock in the form of a proposal from Senator Joe Manchin to speed up energy project permit. Chuck Schumer is likely to call for a vote on the stopgap funding bill, known as continuing resolution, as soon as the Senate reconvenes this week to prevent a government shutdown by Friday when the fiscal year ends. He advanced a House bill last week that would fund the government until December 16, 2022. But in a 50-50 divided chamber, where the majority leader will need 60 votes to get around an expected filibuster, Republicans and some progressive Democrats have balked at supporting Joe Manchin's bill. Progressives believe it gives too much away to energy companies, and Republicans are not in a rush to reward the moderate West Virginia Democrat for backing President Biden's $740 billion Inflation Reduction Act that passed last month. Further complicating the situation is that Senator Manchin's West Virginia colleague, GOP Senator Shelley Moore Capito, has introduced a separate proposal for the permitting process, one that Republicans have supported. Senator Manchin, the chairman of the Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee, said his bill would speed up the permitting process for the 303-mile Mountain Valley pipeline that carries natural gas through West Virginia into Virginia. So friends, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that our lawmakers will reach a deal soon? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Well, my amazing and beautiful friends, that is the end of my daily stimulus update video for this morning. Thank you so much for joining me here every single day, and I truly appreciate all of you for doing so. I'll be announcing a winner for the Walmart gift card giveaway in a video later today. So please do stay tuned for that video and remember to enter the keywords in the comments section below. Thank you, my friends, and have a wonderful and blessed day.
On the 1-week anniversary of their party last Tuesday for their so-called Inflation Reduction Act. But last Tuesday, most Americans, and certainly most West Virginians, weren't in a celebratory mood. West Virginians started their day with news that inflation rose to 8.3% in August, while President Biden and his party and climate activists began setting up for their Inflation Reduction Act party at the White House. Meanwhile, that same day, the U.S. stock market had its worst day since June 2020 as the White House and his fellow Democrats celebrated their green spending bill that would only extend inflationary pain. But it does expand U.S. and IRS enforcement on Americans who are struggling to afford basic necessities. Days after the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office published an analysis that the Inflation Reduction Act would actually not reduce inflation, particularly in the short term, President Biden announces that he will do student debt cancellation that would add another $1 trillion to the deficit. Today and tomorrow, the Federal Reserve, which is our United States monetary watchdog, is meeting to set new interest rates in a bid to tame inflation. The body has had to raise interest rates aggressively by 0.75 of a point. In June, Chairman Powell, who's the chairman of the Fed, admitted that the rate increase is unusually large and would not be common. The Fed will likely raise interest rates again by the same amount tomorrow for the third consecutive time in a row. These are the most aggressive rate increases since the 1980s, when my mortgage was way into the teens, that Chairman Powell has plainly stated will bring, quote, pain to households and businesses. We can't forget that the Democrats alone passed a bill last year that they called the American Rescue Plan, which rescued nothing and instead endangered our fragile economy coming out of COVID by hypercharging inflation. Democrats alone drafted and pushed forward their most recent bill, bypassing the normal committee process. And Democrats alone passed it, rejecting every Republican amendment along the way. In short, these policies continue to destabilize every single corner of our economy. Well, how do we know this? We see some of the statistics I talk about. Well, I know it because West Virginians have lived it, and I hear from them frequently about their legitimate concerns. A retiree from Clarksburg, West Virginia, wrote to me recently saying that she and her husband are struggling every month, despite having done their due diligence to save well for their retirement. She says they're trying not to dip into their 401ks or their TSP retirement accounts, but that it is getting harder and harder to not do that. As inflation drags on, the lifespan of retirement savings will continue shrinking for our seniors in West Virginia, and those seniors account for 41% of our population. Another West Virginian wrote to me about the tough choices her family is making, and I quote, "The economy has crumbled in the blink of an eye. My husband and I have full-time jobs and 2 children. I'm tearful because I sit here looking at these upcoming bills and I'm having to decide to pay a bill or to buy groceries," end quote. A resident from Weston, West Virginia, told me that his insurance premiums recently increased. And when he asked the company why that happened, they told him point blank it was due to inflation. In the same letter, the constituent wrote to me, quote, "This crazy spending has got to stop." But it's not just West Virginians who are experiencing this inflationary problems. The National Defense Industrial Association, authored in part by former Deputy Defense Secretary David Norquist, released a white paper recently that indicated that inflation has cost the Department of Defense $50 billion and estimates that it will cost an additional $110 billion to our nation's defenses from fiscal year 2021 through fiscal year 2023. Think about this in the face of what we're talking about in terms of trying to help Ukraine overcome this terrible invasion by the Russians. Residential real estate has skyrocketed 43% in the past 2 years. In fact, this year, mortgage rates have risen from 3.2% to 6.3%, which is the highest they've been since 2008. Setting all kinds of records here, Mr. President. So, some are going so far as to predict an additional 17.8% rise in home prices over the next year. A recent paper released by Goldman Sachs, aptly titled "The Housing Downturn Further to Fall," warns that higher mortgage rates and reduced affordability will continue well into 2023. For first-time home buyers, that spells a death knell to their dream of owning their own home. Again, what we're seeing in real time are direct consequences of inflation fueled by spending. The increase in price of groceries is unbelievable. It's unbelievable when you go to the grocery store. Over the past year, the price of basic pantry staples has continued to increase. Cost of eggs has gone up 40%. Butter, 24.6%. Luncheon meats, 18.2%. Fresh milk has increased 17.7%. Sugar, flour, bread, pasta, peanut butter, and cereals have increased between 15 and 23%. These are the things that families buy weekly for meet their grocery bill and to have their children's breakfast or lunch or dinner. Simply put, elected Democrats in the Biden administration celebrated the so-called Inflation Reduction Act on a day when the consumer price index on inflation increased. For the many constituents that I talk to on a daily basis, inflation remains the #1 concern. So this irony is not lost on me, nor is it lost on the American public. It's not lost on millions of Americans making tough choices because of these policies. And it's painful, it's hard to watch, and in many of my constituents' opinion, it's as if the president and his party are not paying